Vaping Militia.
And now for your hosts, Mondo, Robin, and Knock.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Vaping Militia Radio. We are here tonight. We got Robin and Knock with us. And Robin is just fresh off of VPX in Las Vegas, which she will talk about tonight. There's a lot of different things happening in the vaping world right now, and I feel there's being a kind of a meltdown happening. People are just running around with their heads cut off. It feels like a vaping tornado that has just hit us because we are being pressured into a deadline of August 10th by the FDA since they dropped the regulations on us. So everybody's just running around there. It seems like there's no control, and yet there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that there is a lot of control. So we just want to make sure and assure the vapors out there that things are happening, and they might not be everything you want them to be. They might not go exactly how you want them, or maybe not in your mind how you want it to go, but it's going to go. And people are going to have, Nicker Labs or Nicopure Labs, has their lawsuit going out. We have Lost Art Liquids has their lawsuit. You may not agree with that lawsuit. Doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. Those lawsuits are going forth. We have a lot of things happening with just different advocacy groups with SFATA, CASAW, Vaping Militia, Not Blowing Smoke, even with the VTA. And if you don't agree with CASAW, or you don't agree with SFATA's way of doing things, or you don't agree with the Vaping Militia, or you don't agree with the VTA, so be it. You don't agree with it. There are a lot of people that do agree with it. There's a lot of people that don't. So instead of making dissension among a lot of things, why don't you just shut the fuck up and help out a little bit? Because some of the things that are being spurred out there are not helping us. And it's making it worse. And we're having people starting to melt down. I'm seeing it on Facebook all the time. And it's just getting bad. So if you didn't like me telling you to shut the fuck up, I'm sorry. You didn't like it. I don't like some of the things that you're saying. So that's the way it is. So let me bring in my two hosts. Robin and Knocked are here tonight. How are you two?
I'm all right.
I'm good. Me too. I'm good, Mondo. How are you?
I'm good. I took a page out of your playbook there, Robin.
I heard you.
But I think you said "get the fuck out." I said so.
I did more than once. Actually,
and
what
of
I said
course,
was I said get up off of your asses and get the fuck out.
And of course, I always
said.
take one out of Knock's playbook because I don't know if you guys are not listening to Sons of Liberty over on the Smoke Free Radio cast. Nog does his Sons of Liberty on Thursday nights. You got to listen to it because he really tells you as it is. And I'm glad we have Knocked on the Vaping Militia because he really does go out there, find out what's going on, and he's in a lot of battles. But he always comes. I read some of the stuff that he puts out. Some of the people that have called him out by name and said, "I'm waiting for you to respond." And he comes out with a great response. I think I'm not trying to be biased, but I'm trying to look at it on the outside looking in, and he comes out with great responses. So, but I'm glad he's here and with the Vaping Militia because we really do cherish him. So, Knocked, a lot of misinformation going on out there. A lot of things happening.
I don't know that there's a lot of misinformation. So, today, in the last couple hours, there's been a whole lot of drama created in the vaping groups and I'm not saying the advocacy groups because the advocates are not participating in this, but in just the groups that are on Facebook and social media of vapors. And I'll address it directly. There's a poster that's flying around, or a picture that is supposed to look like a poster flying around social media, and it's discussing members of VTA. I really feel like maybe we need to give a little history lesson to some of the people, because there's a lot of new people that are here in the last week or two, in the last 6 months. There's a lot of people jumping into the advocacy world. A lot of the new people don't know what has happened before, and maybe only know the names of the people that are out there now. So we'll discuss the VTA thing. So the names of the VTA people may be new to you. But if you've been around a while and you've been doing this stuff for any amount of time, if you're somebody that's paying attention to what's going on, you would know that I would say about half of the people, a good number of the people that are on the board of VTA, up until December, early December, late November, were members of the board of SFATA. Some of them were founders of SFATA and have been here since day one fighting for us. Now, there's biographical information on this poster that seems to be maybe that it was copied from people's like LinkedIn bios. There's a thing called LinkedIn, and it's a networking way. It's a way for people to network, and it's just another social media outlet. And yes, people that are on the board of, some of the people on the board of VTA in the past have had connections with tobacco companies. Now, let's be clear, in somewhere around 80 days or so, we're all going to be in the tobacco world. We're all going to be considered tobacco companies. But everybody that's on that board that was in SFATA, Ron Tully's one of the names that's on there. Ron Tully does work for National Tobacco, who has connections with V2, which is a vapor company. Now, they're not what I would consider an advanced vapor company. They're not, selling mods, and they're not selling high-end gear. And they're basically targeting the smoker that needs to quit smoking or that is trying to quit smoking, and they sell that kind of gear. They sell Cigalites, they sell Ego-type setups and things like that, and they're fine with that. They, National also has Zigzag. Now, to be clear, as far as I know, and I'm not an expert on National Tobacco, but I did look. They don't sell Marlboros. They don't manufacture any cigarettes that I know of. But they do sell stuff in the tobacco world, and so most of the people in that board either have had past associations with tobacco companies. There's a flavor manufacturer in there, so forth and so on. Now, is that something that's bad? I don't necessarily think so, considering, like I said, that they've been fighting for vapor since the founding of SFATA. The reason they're no longer with SFATA, I don't know that it's a secret, but there was a difference of opinion with the board of SFATA in the end of November. They couldn't come to an agreement, and several members left. There was somebody on the board that had a position of power with SFATA that made some decisions that these guys didn't agree with. So, you know what? They couldn't come to some sort of middle ground, so they left. They started their own thing because they felt like SFATA couldn't be fixed, and they figured that they wanted vaping to be around, so they started their own organization to help that happen. Do I know anything after that? Do I know what's going on, what their plans are? No. But for us to attack them based on some sort of connection in the past, or, you know, we don't like the company that they represent, that's a, you know, BS. We look at what they're doing.
Right.
Now,
right.
They're connected, and there's differences of opinion about their connection with different legislative items.
Yeah, let's talk on that. Now, there's been a rumor being spread out there by some people that RJR had some hand in writing the Cole Bishop Amendment.
Well, as far as I know, and again, from what I can see, they do have members of the board, or at least one member of the board that in the past worked for RJR. But you know what? There are very well-respected advocates in this industry that have worked for tobacco companies in the past. I'm not gonna name names, but we know for a fact that some very well-known people have worked for tobacco in the past, and it's in the past. I'm going to take Tom Cole's word for the fact that he wrote most of the language in the Cole Bishop Amendment. What I've been told and what I believe is that, you know, he wrote that, and obviously Bishop, who is from Georgia, was brought in at some point after the bill had, or after the amendment had initially been authored, and may have made some changes to make himself happy so that he could support the bill. The VTA was pushing for it at some point. I know for a fact that our very good friend Jeremy Dollar from Good Life Vapor contacted Bishop too, and after discussing with Bishop how not changing the grandfather date would ruin his business and put all of his employees out of business, whether it was with, you know, Jeremy Dollar's story and VTA's help, he came on to that bill, or not that amendment, excuse me, and that amendment is no longer in committee. It is now waiting to be debated on the floor of the House, and I think we need to focus on the fact that that's happening. Now, there's a lot of talk, and we'll discuss the RJR connection again. There are some people in the advocacy, or that are, you know, pretending like or saying that they're advocates or whatever, that are feeding off of everybody's hate for tobacco, and specifically RJR, to say that the poison pill, that there's language in Cole Bishop that's a poison pill, that's going to allow RJR to be to get something beneficial out of it, and it's specifically the battery section of that amendment. Now, they're claiming that this gives FDA more powers than they already have. To be clear, the 499-page document that was released by FDA is not the regulations. That 499-page document is the deeming. It's called the final rule, and what that does is that discusses what they're going to do in the future. The actual regulations will be added throughout until, you know, and everything is on a timeline. Now, for example, they already have the authority to write regulations as far as manufacturing standards for anything that is considered a tobacco product. Following me?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So if a battery is and it says in there that they are going to regulate batteries that are manufactured for the intent of being used in a vaporizer that is a tobacco product, they're going to regulate it as a tobacco product. If that is the case, then they already have the authority to write manufacturing standards for batteries. I discussed this a little bit on my show last night. I work in healthcare. FDA already regulates medical devices. The batteries used in those medical devices are already regulated by FDA. That battery is not a medical device. However, it is being used in a medical device and therefore must meet the standards that they have put in place for medical devices.
So what you're saying is like if I bought an 18650 battery for my RC car, that's not going to be regulated as a tobacco product.
No, because it's going to be. They're assuming now. There's a loophole, but they're assuming that if you're buying it in an RC store, and if you're buying it at Illumination Supply, it's going to go into a flashlight.
Right.
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 So batteries sold in vape shops for the specific purpose of being put into a vaporizer that will contain nicotine
becomes
they're going to regulate
tobacco.
that.
Yeah.
And the language is so vague. I'm not going to get into the zero Nick versus Nick argument.
That's for another day.
If they feel like it is reasonably expected that it's going to be put into a vaporizer, they're going to regulate it. Now, the batteries that I put into my eStim machine at work are specifically branded and sold and tested batteries for that device. So they're going to do the same thing. I mean, they already love recycling programs and paperwork and everything else. They know how to regulate medical stuff. They know how to regulate cigarettes. They already have a PMTA for cigarettes. So the PMTA that we're going to use is going to be a modified version of the one that they already use. The regulatory stuff, the pathway, and the knowledge that they use to regulate medical batteries are going to be rehashed, recycled, and reformulated for what we do. So it doesn't give them any new power because if it's a tobacco product, they already have the authority to regulate it. That doesn't give them any new power. All it does, all this Cole-Bishop Amendment does, it's bureaucracy. It's just, flashy colors and pretty things that the politicians can do. And, Cole may not know what FDA does. He's not an FDA expert. And I'm not an FDA expert, but I know what I experience in my day-to-day. So if it required this language, the battery regulation shit, and this is the part that everybody's referring to in the Cole-Bishop Amendment, that VTA, blah, blah, blah. They're already going to do it. They're already going to regulate those batteries. As far as the advertisement, the sales to minors, and all that other shit that's in that language, everybody agrees is fine. It's just this battery thing that everybody has sticking in their craw for some reason.
So let's move on to another topic that we just had some militia members at VPX in Las Vegas, and our militia lady Robin was there, and there's some interesting things that happened there. Robin, you want to give us a little lowdown of some of the things that happened during this event?
Yeah. So VPX, I guess just about everybody knows it's the same company that does the ECC events. Not sure everybody knows that, but probably mostly they do.
Yes, they do.
and everybody thinks of ECC as that gigantic event in California. I think in the summertime, Mondo. Is that when you guys go to that? Is it in the summer?
Yeah, it's usually around July.
Yeah.
Or maybe
so,
May.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't. You know what? Now that I think about it, I think it was September or something like that. I can't. They changed the dates
I remember
on
that it was warm out, but I can't remember exactly when it was.
Right.
So I don't know if they've become VPX or if, like, it's a division of, but whatever. So anyway, they have a lot of events, and they had one in Las Vegas last weekend, and I was there with Joe. And I think one of the things I was really surprised about, because of all these things we're hearing about IP infringement lately, and I don't believe anybody intentionally markets to children. I really don't. But what we might consider attractive to children type of labeling. There's so much talk about that right now. I was amazed at how much of it I saw at that show, because I really thought people were going to be buckling down and cleaning up their act and, hopefully making that stuff go away as much as possible. And that was not the case. It was not the case at all. I was telling Mondo before the show knocked, earlier tonight, that there was actually a juice called Cookie Monster. I was floored. The juice was actually, the liquid itself was the same shade of blue as Cookie Monster. And they had a picture of a character that wasn't exactly him, but looked very, very much like him, And so I walked over to the booth, because we all know how shy I am. And I approached the guys and I said, I'm really surprised that you have this. Are you looking at changing it? And they asked me why I thought they should. So I said to them, Cookie Monster, Sesame Street, children, IP infringement, all those things. And they kind of looked at me like I had two heads. And you know what? It really surprised me. And I had a conversation with them about, rebranding and doing it sooner rather than later, for the financial reasons and just all the other reasons that they should have done it by now anyway. And they were not real nice to me about it. There was another one that had Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, on their labels. Same kind of thing. They didn't understand. They didn't understand why it was an issue. What they said to me was, well, nobody has ever said anything before. And, basically I said, consider yourself lucky and be glad it's coming from me, not the comic book people, because you'd have a cease and desist in your hands. They totally didn't get it. There was a stripper pole. I had, we'll call it a conversation with the man who was there. He was from another country. And his argument to me was that it's considered fine in his country. And, you guys know me and you know how I am. And I stood there and tried to explain to him why this is an issue at one of our events, that, we're under a microscope. The public doesn't like that. It's not good for the industry. I even talked about the New Jersey event where they had the stripper pole and the picture of the girl showed up on the front page of a newspaper while she was using the pole. He argued with me that it was for exercise. It was just,
really?
I was really
Exercise?
surprised. Yeah. I was really, I was very, very surprised at some of the reactions that I got from people, especially, in light of everything that we know that's going on. There were a couple of times, when they wanted to do presentations for advocacy, the turnout was not as good as we would have hoped until, I guess it was Saturday. It was Saturday, late in the day, where basically we just weren't having it. We were all really frustrated with a lot of the things that we were seeing. And we ended up asking the guys from VPX to close the doors before the public came in, because we wanted time with the vendors and we knew we weren't going to get them any other way. We basically had them shut down the show. Like, did you guys know that?
No, I did not know that you guys shut down the show. What the hell?
Actually, I did. Yeah.
Yes, we shut down the show. There were announcements being made that the doors were being closed, that everybody needed to come to the stage, that we really needed to speak with the vendors, and that at this point the show was shut down because it was the only way to get them there. And we wanted to talk with them about all of these other issues that were going on that we were all so very frustrated with. Not just me, but Shell was there, Shell Hamill, of course Joe was there, Stefan, Alex from CASA. I'm trying to think who else right now. My brain isn't I can't think of who, but we were all up there. It's unusual for me to rant in public. I ranted in public.
Wow.
A little bit out of character for me. You guys know me. I rant in private, but not so much in public.
Tell everybody what you told everybody. There was something you said that just you dropped the mic.
you want me to tell you what pushed me over the edge? without
Yes,
getting into,
yes,
like,
I want.
all
I
of it?
do. I do.
Should I say what I said to you earlier, Mondo?
Yeah, I think you should.
Do
Okay.
it.
All right, so there were like long tables, like almost like banquet tables, and they were set up horizontally in front of the stage. Lots of chairs, lots of tables, and while we were waiting for everybody to get up to the front to the stage, somebody was walking along laying flyers down on the tables, in front of each chair. While we're waiting, I happened to pick up one of the flyers. Pardon my language, guys. Okay, but it was flavors, on both sides. The first one that I saw, I'm saying it, Mondo. The first one that I saw was called Pussy Juice, okay? And it said that it was a mixture of different kinds of fruits, and don't you wish it really tasted that good? Anyway, I kind of lost it for a couple of minutes. I kept reading, and there was one that was called Lemon's Ludes, like Quaaludes. And it alluded to that kind of thing, and something about it fucking you up, like that kind of stuff. And, there were other flavors too. There was one that referred to Cinnamon Toast Crunch and, Crunch Berries and different kinds of kids cereals. And at that point, I was like over the edge. I had no intention of going up on stage, but I kind of couldn't help it. Like, I just kind of had to. So I went up on the stage, and basically what I said was, I think of a lot of you guys as underminers. You undermine the industry. And I need to say to you right here, right now, that if that's what you're going to do, you need to get up off of your asses and get the fuck out, because we don't need you here. We fight hard for you. Let us fight for the good guys, not for you bad guys. Just get the fuck out. And I left the stage.
Yeah, there's actually video of this.
Yes, there is. It's all over the place. It went a little bit viral from what I understand, and I think people are surprised to hear me like that, because I'm the girl that hugs everybody and loves everybody. But I was really angry, really, really angry.
Now, is that video on our Facebook page for the Vape Militia? Is that where it's at?
I think it is. I think, yeah. You know what? People kept posting it on my timeline, so anybody that wants to go on my timeline can see it there as well. But I think Art posted the one that he did on our group. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple copies. There's Art's version, and then Kat, I think, made a copy of it. There's different angles.
Yeah, so did Deanna from Not Blowing Smoke. Deanna did one. A couple people did.
Yeah, there's different angles. And when it was posted on our timeline, I typed on there, "That's my girl."
That's what he said. Yeah. Well,
because
you know what?
Everybody expects me to be the one to say cursy things and stuff.
It was funny though, Knock. People were coming over and hugging me and high-fiving me because nobody's used to hearing that out of me, But I was angry. It needed to be said. They need to know that we mean business. And oh my God, like at this point, what did you say? There's 75, 80 days, whatever there are left. Why aren't these guys cleaning up their acts? Instead, it's just frustrating.
You know that December 31st, when everybody has to have their ingredients list submitted along with copies of their labels before they can receive their pre-market approval to stay in the business. I really think that people are going to be surprised when their products get rejected. People don't think that FDA has the authority to control that kind of thing. But I used to work in the printing world before I was in the medical world, and we printed everything from soup labels to whiskey labels to magazines to, everything that could be printed on paper, we printed. And the alcohol labels and packaging actually had to be submitted to DEA and ATF and FDA before they could be approved. Okay. And I really think that people are going to be surprised when they get rejected for having characteristic branding or adulterated branding. I think there's going to be some people that are in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, and you're right.
As soon as that system is live, and people, it's already live, by the way. If you want to go ahead and get ready to start doing it, the Furls website is up so that people can start doing it. If you're one of those companies that has a questionable brand, I would do it early.
Yep.
So that you get your responses back in time that you can But after the deadline of, what is it now? 8/8 or 8/10?
I think it's the 8th. I think it's 8/8.
So technically,
I thought it was the 10th.
If you have one of those shitty brands and you get rejected for your market approval after 8/8, you can't rebrand.
Right.
You're fucked.
And on those lines that you're saying, being a graphic designer for 15 years, I used to do tequila bottles, and they would send me the labels, and I would and the government wanted certain font, a certain font type, size, where it's supposed to be. I mean, it's meticulous, and if it's not there, it gets rejected. If it's not where it's supposed to be, it's not the same font it's supposed to be, or it's not the same size, it gets rejected every time. So they're meticulous. They're very meticulous.
We have warning labels that are going to have to be put on there. The rollout for that, and you can go to the website and look at the timeline. Everything's rolled out in stages, and I'm not really positive about what day is the deadline for including that wording for the warning labels. So it's best. I would tell everybody to go to the website and look at they have a timeline graphic that you can look at that tells you what has to be done by certain dates and stuff like that. And I think that the warning label language is actually later on. But you know what? If you're in the middle of doing shit anyway, and you know, why wouldn't you just do it early?
Well, you know what? I had a couple of them, a few different people from different companies saying to me, well, we think we can get away with this. And I said, what do you mean get away with it? You're dealing with the FDA here. And like you, I work in the medical industry, and I've dealt with their regulations and things in that world like you have. They're very strict. They're very rigid. There is no getting away with. Either it's what they want or it isn't. And if it isn't, you're not getting away with it. That's all.
There's a lot of gray, and everybody keeps talking about loopholes in gray areas and stuff like that. You might look at something and say that it's gray. Right. It's in a gray area. For them, it's black and fucking white, and they get to tell you what is black. It may look gray to you, but for them, it's black.
Yes.
And as far as enforcement and things like that and getting away with shit, I can guarantee you they're aware of what's going on. They probably have already conducted mystery shops on you without telling you. Yeah. And, if you watched the webinar the other day, one of the questions is when will we know when we've been mystery shopped? And the answer was, well, there's different compliance checks, and if it's a spot check type of thing where they might send in a young person to buy something, or they may just be coming in and looking at the products on your shelves, and you won't know.
Right.
You're gonna get a citation in the mail. You won't even know that they've been there. And if they do enforcement on this like they do tobacco shops and convenience stores, they already have enforcement in place. Everybody seems to think that this is gonna put a tax on their system. They already have mystery shoppers. They already have all this in place. They may have to add a few more people, but they already have the program ready.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be something that's going to be haphazard. I guarantee you they're going to go after. They've probably already got the names of some people that they already know are bad actors. And they're just, I'm telling you, on the day after this is active, we're going to start finding out that people are getting hit by these mystery shops, and some of them are going to be cited. This is not going to be, if you watch any of the Zeller talks, he's not playing. And he knows what's going on.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt at all. But
I don't want to be the negative Nelly, and I don't want to be doom and gloom, but
But
I
you're
mean,
right. No, you're right.
We have an opportunity to keep in business until at least December 31st. If you do your paperwork right and you're not an asshole, you can stay in business for another 36 months possibly, where we will be continuing to fight our asses off to save this industry. But being immature about things and playing games, there's no room for that. We have to look at this like professional people. And sometimes we're not the most professional.
No, we're not. And you know what? I've noticed something, and I want you to touch on this. Seems like the FDA has their own Twitter account, right? It's called FDA Tobacco. And there's an article out there that makes fun of it a little bit, in the sense that they're very interested on who is behind this FDA Tobacco, because there are people that are tweeting out to FDA Tobacco. And I'll read one of the tweets. It says, contains no tobacco but are vastly safer than smoking. FDA are criminals to ban this lifesaver. Now, the FDA Tobacco responded to this Twitter person, Big Vaping, and they said if they contain nicotine derived from tobacco, meet the definition of tobacco product, and are regulated accordingly. Then there's other tweets that came out. Have you still not wrapped your collective mind around fact that regs will close 100% of businesses that sell these products? FDA tweets back. FDA recognizes the cost of the application process may burden small businesses and aims to ease the process, and gives a link. So are they... What this article is saying is, are we paying somebody to sit there and fire back at people that are tweeting out to the FDA's tobacco Twitter? I mean, what the heck?
Okay, so I don't know if there's a human being. I really think that, and to be sure, I know everybody that was their tweets were used in this article. Our very good friend Chris Hughes is one of the ones that was posted in here, and Jude is a very active. The first tweet that you talked about is a very big Twitter advocate. So I'm quite acquainted with both of these people, but to be sure, I don't know that this is a human being, but I can tell you that all of the responses in these vaping tweets, I think that they have a database of responses, and somebody is either cutting and pasting them. They see keywords, or it's a bot.
You think it's a bot? I don't know, because before you move on, here is one. I quit smoking to live for my kids, for my 5 kids. Do you not really care about public health? And the tweet back to them was, regulating all tobacco products will have a positive impact on nation's health. That is the motivation for this action. I kind of feel it's somebody either behind it, an FDA employee that's tweeting this out, because I can't seem to wrap my head around that it's a bot.
We've actually gathered most of these responses, and it seems like there may be like 15 to 20 responses, and we're repeatedly getting verbatim the responses back.
So you're seeing the same responses back to maybe different questions? Yes. Okay, I got you.
Yes. So our very good friend Jeff Steyer, who is an employee of a think tank, a conservative think tank. He is our vapor personality when it comes to. He actually gets on like CNN and things like that and discusses conservative issues, not just this, but mostly regulatory things. He must be like the regulatory expert for the think tank that he's in. He actually created I don't know, a satire Twitter account called @FDA Tobacco Bot. So he took their Twitter handle and added the word bot to the end and started using that Twitter, and he got banned.
Yeah, I remember Steyer. I remember there is a video of him talking about the e-cigarette regulations. I think it was a Fox News thing.
Right.
And I remember him being on there, and he was very staunch about defending vaping for people as an alternative to smoking. So, yes, Steyer, yes.
He's a big ally.
He's a big ally. And know your allies, everybody. Know your allies. Just because
know who they are. Don't listen to anybody else's stuff. But yes, Jeff created a Twitter and was using it, and it got blocked. It got not just blocked, but Twitter actually took it down, which is something that I've never really experienced. I mean, I've been blocked by a lot of people, a lot of public health organizations, and anti-vaping advocates have blocked me. And to be clear, on these podcasts, I am very aggressive. Sometimes I say bad words, but on Twitter, I'm always very respectful. You can go and look at my Twitter feed, and I've never been aggressive or I've never said rude things to people. I hit them with the facts. But yes, I mean, I've been blocked by people on Twitter, but they fucking pulled this whole account down. They blocked it and canceled. They suspended the account, which is kind of funny. So, here I've actually I've got a quote from Jeff, and it says, the FDA has a Twitter account that has been using @FDA Tobacco to push what it believes is an alternate reality that they've set up, which is to say we're not banning e-cigarettes. And that's what they've essentially been repeating over and over again, that they're not banning e-cigarettes. They're just regulating e-cigarettes to make the world a better place. So to kind of highlight this and draw attention to the problem, he says, I created a spoof account, a parody called FDA Twitter Bot, and explained in the bio of the Twitter page that it was a spoof account parodying the FDA and to send any e-cigarette questions to that account and he would answer them. But it wasn't long before he was, sending them silly questions and they were providing canned responses that Twitter went and canceled the account, which is really weird because I've seen some really crazy shit. I've seen some bullying on Twitter, and not necessarily by us. And Twitter has never, as far as I know, they have never suspended any of our accounts. They've never suspended the accounts of the jackasses that have attacked us repeatedly. So I was kind of dumbfounded when I heard about this.
It's funny. I remember there was an article written from it was a San Francisco newspaper, and there was a lady talking about, and they were talking about us, Vape Militia. Oh yeah, they threatened me and stuff, and we're like, we never even heard of this lady. No. So we get called out and falsified all the time, and it's just funny. But
now, not to interrupt you, but you remember maybe a month ago, there was a conference in, I want to say somewhere in Arizona or New Mexico or whatever, and they did that big presentation about the Vaping Militia.
Yes.
Not Blowing Smoke put up a slideshow about it and shit. The woman that wrote that presentation is the woman that claimed that we were bullying her.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Yes, that is the connection. It's the same woman.
Yeah. Okay.
And for the life of me, I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
But yes, apparently we bullied her, which is fine. But we got more play out of that. We got more word of mouth about it when she was complaining about us than we ever got without that presentation.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's another presentation that's going on, and it's by the American Lung Association. Now, the American Lung Association says they would rather smokers die than to save their lives the wrong way. And you know what the wrong way is? Vaping products. They're telling us that you need to quit. There's better ways to quit. Because if you're going to quit through an e-cigarette or a vaping product, you're not quitting. You're switching. So it's not the same thing. Either you quit or you die. That's their motto. Mm-hmm. Isn't that their motto?
That is the motto.
My God. I you know what? We always knew that this was happening. But you know, it's funny because they're saying that if you switch from smoking to vaping, in our eyes, you are now a successful quitter. All vapors that are existing now that smoked are successful quitters, but not in their eyes. They're known as just switchers because you're switching one addiction for another, as they say.
Right.
And it's just sad. And Michael Siegel wrote a whole article on this, right, Noct?
Yes. And to be clear, this is not the first time we've heard this. I mean, we talk about it all the time. That, you know, if you listen to some of our old podcasts where we talk about public health organizations don't think that you've quit smoking. They still say you're smoking. And this is just proof of that. And ALA actually, you know, came out with something last week where they basically said that we're not helping people quit smoking, that, yes, you are not a quitter, you're a switcher. And that's how they're counting us when they're counting the quit rates and saying that we're not successful as a cessation device. All we're doing is handing somebody that's a smoker a new vice, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I can't. It's just. I don't think we'll ever get the ALA or the American Cancer Society or, you know, Tobacco Free Kids or whatever, all these, you know, organizations out there to understand what vaping really is. They see it as a sin, an outrageous sin. They see it as the evils that plague society, and they will never come over and say, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe we were unable or unwilling to accept that vaping does help people quit smoking, but they're never going to do that, ever.
They see it as all of those things, but they also see it as competition because they want the money. They see us as competition, you know, in a lot of ways. I'm fine with being a switcher. I'm good with that.
You're a switcher.
It's bullshit. Yeah. Nicotine. So just because I get my nicotine not from a patch and not from gum, you know, it doesn't mean that my nicotine's any worse for me than that nicotine is. That's bullshit, in my opinion.
Right. So here, this is, in my opinion, a very powerful paragraph or a very, very powerful part of this blog from Michael. It says, "Let me set the record straight and try to undo some of the damage that the American Lung Association is causing. There is no right way to quit smoking. What matters is your health, is that you quit. The body doesn't know how you quit. What it knows is that you are no longer inhaling tobacco smoke with its tens of thousands of chemicals and more than 60 known human carcinogens. Whether you quit using the patch, a pill, hypnosis, vaping, acupuncture, or natural magic, you have successfully quit. You are no longer inhaling toxic tobacco smoke, have essentially saved your life, and I congratulate you for having accomplished the single most important and most difficult thing that you can do to protect your health."
Amen.
I love that.
That is awesome. And it's true because, and you know what? It doesn't, just because they didn't quit through vaping doesn't give them any less success. Like he's saying here, if you do it through the nicotine patch, a pill, hypnosis, whatever, if you went cold turkey and it worked for you, as long as you've done it, that is the most accomplished thing that you've done, is you've gotten off it. So if somebody went cold turkey or used hypnosis or acupuncture or whatever, the American Lung Association doesn't see anything wrong with that.
No.
So nicotine patch, you know, the FDA is saying, well, nicotine is derived from tobacco and It is a tobacco product, but the nicotine patch isn't a tobacco product.
No, because it's regulated as a pharmaceutical.
Exactly.
Same thing
'Cause
with
they're
the gum.
making
Yep.
them money.
Yep. It's what it is, the competition.
It's the
Well,
competition.
it's funny. We'll talk about the patch and the gum for a minute. When they were originally approved by FDA as a medical cessation device, they had a rigorous program attached to those products. And originally, you actually had to have a prescription for the patch.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that was a prescription thing, and you had to be under a doctor's supervision, and you could only use it for so long. And you know, it was so unsuccessful. And you know, the reason why it no longer has that rigorous program, and you can buy them off the shelf now, is because they didn't work. Following the rigorous program, 6%. It satisfies. It helps 6% of the people that try it actually succeed. But they were making so much money, they figured they could make more by getting rid of the requirements to only use it for so long.
You know what they
Did
did?
you guys use patches?
I did use patches. I had vivid nightmares. It didn't prevent me from smoking because I would wake up with night sweats and freaking out, and I would go outside on the patio and smoke a cigarette.
And look at your patch.
As far as-
and look at your patch on your arm.
I did. I wore a patch and smoked. That's why I was curious, because
Yeah.
I wore a patch and I smoked because it still wasn't what I needed. It just didn't
Right.
cut
And
it for me.
The gum was the same way. You
I
were
never
only
tried the
supposed
gum.
to use so many pieces of gum in a 24-hour period, and you were only supposed to use them for so long before going back to your doctor. And now you can chew 100 pieces of that shit in a day. They don't care, because you're paying the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
I mean, they don't give a shit. You can keep using that stuff as long as you want now. So essentially, you're no longer a quitter either. If you're using the gum and you're not smoking and you're still chewing the fucking gum, you're a switcher too.
Yeah.
You dirty switcher.
Exactly.
Another thing that's pretty dirty going on is in the town of Brighton. Now, in the town of Brighton, there's somebody had a Greg Lewis, a Brighton resident, wrote an article saying vape stores a threat to our neighborhood. And he just, what he does is he goes down and says, you're vaping out there on our, residential neighborhoods, and it's putting all this stuff in our lungs and the secondhand, emissions and all this stuff. It talks about a teenager, Ryan Skolin, who attempted to smoke an e-cigarette, but instead of releasing the vapor, the device blew up in his face. He sustained cuts and burns on his hand, lip, and the back of his throat. That's a major throat hit right there. Then he goes on to say, how nicotine is a highly addictive substance and alters the brain chemistry and overall biochemistry in ways that do serious damage. He goes on to say that vapors from e-cigarettes contain several cancer-causing substances, as well as incredible tiny particles of tin, chromium, nickel, and other heavy metals. Heavy metal toxicity can cause asthma and bronchitis and emphysema. And he's just going on and rambling on. He's getting all this stuff from the internet. And he wants to convince, he's just saying that vaping stores have no benefit to us. They're targeting our youth. They're luring them into try addictive substances. And there has to be a call to action, not only in Brighton residents, but to all people in the Rochester area to stand up in opposition to vape stores. They're the purveyors of addiction. Purveyors of addiction. And
I actually know some guys in that area.
And serious health risks to those who are the dearest in our heart. Our children. Here's the children clause again. I call it the children clause. save the children. Yeah, save the children because the
It's always about the children, yes.
You know what? I like that. Purveyors of Addiction. I think I'm going to start a band, a rock band called Purveyors of Addiction.
I'm going to go start a Facebook group right now.
I was just going to say the same thing.
You can't be taking my ideas. Come on now.
You know, in
Get
the
your own
last
ideas.
couple of weeks, I have been added to so many Facebook groups.
Yeah, me too.
It's ridiculous. All these new to not to take too much focus away from this stupid ass guy, but just to throw some more light into the whole the new kids on the advocacy block
Yes.
discussion. You know,
Is that a group?
that's another Facebook group I'm starting.
New Kids of the Advocacy Block.
Yeah, since
Yeah.
the Demon came out, there's a lot of new people that are excited about advocacy. You know, in the last 6 months, we've seen a lot of new people showing up, and we don't want to deter anybody from being passionate about vaping.
Right.
But when it comes time, you still need to listen to the people that have been here. You know, the CASA, SFATA, VTA, the Smoke Freeze, the SFATA state groups, those guys have already been fighting for you. We don't need even more division and separation and diversion of attention, because assholes like this are writing stupid ass letters to the newspapers and getting the public against vaping. So when we're fighting ourselves, when we're causing issues amongst ourselves, how can we focus on our true enemy? How can we educate the people in the general public about vaping if we're focusing too much about, calling out people within our own circles or trying to gain some sort of, vape fame for yourself by belittling or attacking people that are already doing the advocacy thing. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I'm tired of this vape famous bull crap. We
Yeah.
did not get into this to be vape famous. We did this because we had a passion for smokers to become vapors. And
Right.
if you
It's the
are
right
coming
thing to
here
do.
to become vape famous, or you want everyone to listen to your viewpoint, fuck on that. You know that? That's bullshit. Because I'm going to tell you something. You think this is easy? You think this disturbs your regular life, but you know
my
it's
God,
something.
yeah.
You're doing something great. You're doing something good for the community, and you're getting people off smoking, which the FDA is going to try to stop all this. And if you're coming in here now with a voice of reason or a voice of, oh yeah, I know what I need to do, or what you knew, I know what's going to save vaping and all this shit. You know what? Save it for somebody else. Go talk to another group or whatever, because you know what? You ain't doing any good. If you're putting people down all the time, whoever these people are, then you're no good for this. You might as well just knock it off now.
We have a shortage of voices of reason. We do have quite a lot of voices of division. People that are using the word division, or using the word unity as a weapon. You're not creating unity. You're just drawing more differences between you and the other people. Find your common ground. Focus on the big issues, and the little shit, it will solve itself. If we find areas that we are most common in, the most important things will be the same. It's the little shit that makes us look different that is causing problems. And like I said,
Yes.
all of that shit will come out in the wash.
Yes, it will. So,
and
go ahead, Robin.
I was going to say, and just, use your energy to do good things for the industry, not to beat anybody down or attack anybody. Because, God, I've seen more of that stuff on Facebook in the past week than I think I've seen in the past couple of years. I don't know about you guys, but it looks that way to me.
Yes. So, is that your final word, or you got anything else for us, Noct?
don't use Unity as a weapon.
Oh, ouch. Robin?
Yeah, I'm with him there. I mean, I am. I'm with him there. It's just, I would just wish everybody would just like pay attention to. I'm not saying that we're always the right people, but there are certainly some people who've been doing this longer than others that know more about, like Knock was referring to the background and that kind of stuff. But pay attention to the people who know, not the guy who decided to come along just lately and fight with everybody, because there's way too much of that stuff going on. Way too much.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who tuned into the show. Knocked, Robin, again, thank you so much for being here. This is the Vaping Militia Radio Show, and you're listening to us on Spreaker.com, our new home. You can listen to this podcast also on SoundCloud. There's also a YouTube, so go look for us. You can always find all the information at thevapingmilitia.org and on our Facebook page. This is TVMR signing off. Good night, everybody.